In this video, we're going to learn about name cells and name ranges in Excel. Name cells make formulas easier to read and understand. They also simplify writing formulas, especially in large workbooks where you have multiple sheets and interlinked calculations. The best way to see their value is through an example. Let's open the exercise file called Name Cells and Ranges. In this file, on the sheet called Name Cells, I have a small data set. This dataset shows sales in US dollars for 4 products. Let's say I want to find out the sales values in different currencies, that is Canadian dollars, euros, and INR. Now, one option, of course, could be to simply take the sales values in US dollars and multiply it by the exchange rates, and over here I have hard-coded the exchange rates. This setup does the job for us, however, it's not dynamic. That is, if the rate changes later on, we'll have to update every formula on this worksheet. A better approach is to store the exchange rates in particular cells and then link the formula to those cells. Let's go to the master data sheet. And over here at the top, you will see I have stored the exchange rates for different currency pairs at the top. Now I can go back to my name cells sheets. And instead of hard coding the exchange rate, I can multiply the USD values with the exchange rates that I have stored on the master data sheet. Likewise, I can do the same for euros and for INR. In this setup, if the exchange rate changes in future, I just need to change it in one place and all the other cells in the workbook that are impacted by the exchange rate will update automatically. So for example, let's say later on, the USD to Canadian dollar exchange rate changes to 1.4. I just need to change it over here, and the values here will update automatically. If I do Control Z and back to 1.35, the values still keep on changing. So with that, we have made the sheet dynamic, but there's still one issue, and that is readability of the formulas. If another user looks at these formulas, they won't be able to understand what's going on because they don't know what is in cell C4 on the master data sheet or what is on cell C5 on the master data sheet. And if that sheet is hidden, or if there are too many sheets and the master data sheet is buried among many other sheets, it becomes even more confusing. One solution to this problem is to assign names to the cells where we have the exchange rates stored. So I'm going to delete these formulas first, go back to the master data sheet, and over here, I'm going to assign a name to each of the cells that contains the exchange rates. To assign a name, I will select the cell which I want to name, and with that cell selected, on the top left bar, I'll put in the name that I want to assign. So for USD to CAD, I'm going to put CAD underscore exchange rate. Likewise for Euro, it will be Euro under exchange rate. And then for INR underscore X rate. Once these names have been assigned, we can access the values stored against these names anywhere in the workbook. So for example, in this cell, if I write CAD exchange rate, it's going to give me 1.35. And this can be accessed anywhere in the workbook. So now let's go back to our name cells sheet. And since now we have already assigned names, we do not need to write the full cell addresses or references in the formulas. We can just write in the names that we have just assigned. So I'm going to multiply the USD value by the CAD exchange rate. Likewise for Euro, I'm going to multiply USD by Euro exchange rate. And same way for INR. Now, if some external users read these formulas, it's immediately clear what we are trying to do here. The formula shows that we're taking the USD value and multiplying it by the Canadian rate or the Euro rate. This not only improves the readability of the formulas, but it also makes writing the formulas much easier. As you can see that while I'm writing these formulas, I don't need to go back and forth to the master data sheet and see which cell do I exactly want to reference. I can just write in the name here and drag the formula. Just like we assigned names to single cells in this example, we can also assign names to range of cells as well. Let's see where this can be helpful. On the named ranges sheet, I have prior year sales by month, and I want to find out the forecast sales for the next year. On the master data sheet, we have a stored sales growth percentage forecast for each month. So to calculate the next year's forecast sales, we can simply take the last year's sales and multiply each month by its respective growth rate. Now, one option could be to name each month's growth rate separately. So for example, this cell I can name as January growth rate, this cell can be named as February growth rate, this one March growth rate, and so on. And then we go to the name ranges sheet and multiply each and every number from last year with this year's respective monthly growth rates. However, this would be quite tedious and time consuming because we have 6 months, and this is just an example. In real life, you can see even bigger ranges as well, so naming each and every one of them could be quite time consuming. So a better approach is to name the entire range of cells that contain the growth rates. So to do that, I will select the entire range that I want to name, and then I'm going to assign the name that I want. So I will put growth rates. Once this range is named, it can be accessed anywhere in the workbook. So for example, if I put growth rates here, it brings up the data. So this allows us to easily calculate the next year forecast by multiplying the sales range from the last year with the growth rate range. So let me just show you another example. So here we can have the growth rates, and now I can either multiply this by this, or to simplify the formula and set up even further, I can just select this entire range containing the sales by month of last year and multiply it by the growth rates. This shows only the increase. So if I want to find the forecast sales for next year, I'm just going to add 1 to the growth rates and close the formula. So there we go. We have the forecast based on the growth rates that we had on the master data sheet.